And false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think, and this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
As the world watches and listens in horror, the peaceful pro-democracy demonstration in China comes to a violent and bloody end.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Wolves hiding nearby, whispering do or die around me. You say your last good night while I get
There is another very important phase of warfare. It has as its target not the body, but the mind of the enemy.
The target of psychological warfare is against the enemy's mind.
It is words and ideas.
The ammunition used by Psywar.
Its mission is to influence the thoughts of the enemy soldier, and at the same time
is expected and encouraged to study foreign languages and the social sciences such as history, economics, and sociology. He must have a broad and sympathetic understanding of all phases of human experience.
gripping at my skin, the walls of night closing.
but the use of this force as an integral part of combat has now taken on new form.
As I wait to say my last goodbye.
These are the Psywar soldiers.
Resolute Exposure is a social media platform. Almost all content on Resolute Exposure is created by citizen journalists. I share content created by citizen journalists who I believe to be the best at finding facts buried deep into the abyss, or outlets who I believe to be best for verifiable information. We have to operate within their system, and we only have the information that they allow us to have. These citizen journalists who nerd out on fact-finding missions and then add their opinion to better inform me to make the best choice for me in this war of narratives is Resolute. This information war is a battle for your mind, and ultimately compliance. While mainstream media dismisses social platforms as mere echo chambers for fake news, independent spaces like this prove that shared content and live dialogue actually foster deeper critical thinking. So, I am excited to share the content in hopes you'll turn off mainstream media, who I believe is just a version of entertainment. So again, welcome to Resolute Exposure. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host, producers, or any affiliated organization. This podcast may include sensitive discussion related to topics such as child protection, abuse, and criminal behavior. The content is intended for informational, educational, and awareness purposes only, does not constitute legal, medical, or professional advice. Any reference to individuals, cases, or events are based on personal perspective, professional experience, or publicly available information and should not be interpreted as statements of fact regarding any specific person or situation. The host, speakers, and producers disclaim any liability for actions taken by listeners based on the content of this podcast. Listeners are encouraged to seek qualified professional guidance for their specific circumstances. Listeners' discretion is advised. All individuals are presumed innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. All right. Good evening, guys. Welcome to Thursday's Nights Caught Up. It's episode 136. I think I named it The Many Faces of the Industrial Complex, and how fitting that would be when we have a new face like Scrappy Dog. How you doing out there, Scrappy Dog?
Very good.
You were on Tuesday night, but you couldn't get your camera working, so we got it
Yeah,
fixed.
yeah.
Yeah.
I got that straightened out. I took Chrome off, so
That's cool. So tonight we're gonna discuss all the things that well, I wouldn't say all the things because you brought up a lot of good things on Tuesday night that talked about courts and everything else, militia, that kind of stuff like that. And because Tuesday's night show is mostly a Blount County thing, that's why I said, "Hey, Scrappy, come on this show on Thursday, and we'll let you get out what a little bit of what it is that you want to, I don't know, maybe promote because you're passionate, you're a patriot, and you seem to know a lot of information. But anyway, if you had something to say, like, and you had 90 seconds to do it, what would you do? It go.
Well, first off, start out by saying these are my opinions. They do not resolve on anybody else but me. They fall back on me. This is my belief. This is the knowledge that I've got from studying. This is knowledge I've got from my historical past in this county. I'm a seventh generation. My great grandparents come from South Carolina and from North Carolina right after the Civil War. Some of them or not Civil War, but Revolutionary War. Some of them pre-Revolutionary War. They were already here when the settlers started coming across after the Revolutionary War. But I've seen and I have stories, family history of conflict and disgruntled feelings toward the so-called United States government that basically isn't a government, it's a corporation. We've been overtook. We got overtook in 1789. They incorporated us. And then in 1933, they bankrupted us and they put us all under slavitude by the United States government and Federal Reserve. Simple as that.
Yeah. So that's a lot, you know what I mean? Because those are a bunch of different subjects, and if somebody new was watching the show and they heard that'd be a lot to try to digest, to try to understand, you know what I mean? So, let's talk about the militia thing. I liked it when you brought it up the other day about the sheriff's department. We did an episode on Blount County Broad Breakdown where we showed the sheriff's department record for a 10-year span, 13 to 2023. And I'm not trying to pick on Blount County. It's just all the research that I've done. I haven't really done any other counties or anything on a state level, but they're armed like a small militia when it comes to all the extracurricular activities and the toys that they claim that they have to have in the name of safety, right? But if we go back to how the militias were started, and if you, I have my opinion how I believe it was. What's yours, Scrappy? What was the founder's version of what militia was supposed to be? Just
Well,
keep it to that era at the moment, and we'll dig a little
okay,
further.
okay. In 1780 or 1773, the Continental Congress got together and started working on the Declaration of Independence. And the first thing they did was they set up, well, actually, before then, the militia originally is the men in the community, and they would come together when needed to combat, fight against people who are attacking the community, whether it be indigenous, foreign governments, whatever. They were also called upon to do law enforcement. They were the original law enforcement. We had a grand jury that petitions would be brought to a secret, private grand jury, no judge, no attorney, just a grand jury. And if they had any questions about it, they could call upon counsel and have a counsel come in and explain to them the law and what laws were being broken. Then they would issue the warrants, and the militia would be the one to go out and procure the subjects and bring them in front of the grand jury, and they were able to give their side of the story. And then if it needed to go into judgeship, then it would proceed from that point. During the Revolutionary War, the Minutemen is basically the militia. They called them the Minutemen simply because they were on stand for a minute. In a minute, that they would be dressed, their weapons acquired, on their horseback, heading to where they needed to head to. And so our founding fathers knew that a standing army was the worst thing that you could have in this country. A standing army is basically servitude. You're under servitude to this standing army. So they set it up to section 1, Article 8, subsections 15 to 18 explains who the militia is, who the grand jury is, and what their purpose was in this country to stop, not to have a standing army. And I'm sorry, Barong, all you deputies, I appreciate what you do. I understand your heartfelt pride in what you do and how you stand up, and the job you do is a very dangerous job. But you're a standing army. You are not the militia.
Okay.
The militia is not a 24-hour, 7 days a week pay job. Militia is volunteers. These guys did not get paid for what they done.
Okay.
They did it because of duty, honor, and civil respect.
Can you see
it's what they did it for.
Can you see that article that's behind me or behind you?
Not really.
Okay. All right. So it's called The Militia, the Founders Envisioned and What Remains Today. And I'll pull it back off the screen because what it does, it messes with our faces here. But what it is this is the 10th Amendment Center. Are you familiar with the 10th Amendment Center?
Yes, I am.
Okay. So they published this, Michael Bolden, August 15th of 2025. And it says, I'm going to read through a little bit because a lot of what you say is absolutely correct, and I like the idea of a militia based on how the founders absolutely envisioned where, like you said, it was every man, young man. At the time, I don't know if there was a limit for the age, so we'll just, for the sake
It
of
was
discussion, we'll say 18.
it was
Okay.
18 to 45,
Okay.
18 to 45, and they've updated it to 18 to 60 now.
Okay. So then it says, who are the militia? They consist now of the whole people, right? It says George Mason cut to the heart of it. The militia was not a government creation, but the people themselves. And that's what you were trying to say the other evening. It says the simple truth has been twisted, ignored, or totally forgotten. You say the word militia today, and most people look at you like you're a fringe nutcase. Would you agree with that?
Oh yes, most definitely,
Yeah, I think
most
that
definitely.
we have
And
we go ahead.
you can go on YouTube and YouTube Mason's name. He stood up in front of right after Oklahoma when they started. That's right after the Oklahoma bombing is when they really started making militias out to be
Bad.
this right wing extremist group of white supremacists out here in woods running around playing war.
It was a
You know,
narrative. It was a
and
narrative.
he stood up to Congress and he laid it out right. Just everything you're saying right there is what he
Right.
told Congress in 1993. I think it's when it was 92 and 93.
Okay. It says the founding generation saw it differently. It said they viewed a well armed and well trained people as the backbone of liberty, the essential security of a free republic. The Constitution's malicious clauses were supposed to secure that principle. The Anti Federalists warned that they would do the opposite, and time has proven them right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it says citizen militia versus standing army. The story really begins with the principle most Americans have forgotten, and most were never even taught, the choice between a citizen militia and a permanent professional standing army, which what you had just discussed a second ago. Henry Knox, Washington's Secretary of War, reinforced this. In a free society, the ultimate safeguard had to be in armed people themselves. An energetic, and this is quoted, an energetic national militia is to be regarded as the capital security of a free republic and not a standing army, forming as a distinct class in the community. End quote. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, 100%, because that's what it was based on. And I don't know about the idea of anti-federalists being the ones. I think it's more the federalists are the ones who started this, not the anti-federalists were people like uh, uh, John Hancock was an anti-federalist. He did not want a federal government. He wanted small, centralized governments in each state having their own government. He did not want a DC. Had no point. In fact, during when when they set up to write the Constitution, he had no part of it. He said, "I want no part of it." He said, "I smell a rat." Is what he said.
Right.
Because the Federalists are in there trying to make a federal government anti-federalist like oh crap, can't think of his name. Anyway, the third president of the United States.
Right.
He didn't want no part of it either. And James Madison, who was a Federalist, is basically considered the creator of the Constitution and was created by a Federalist who wanted a centralized government. The rest of them didn't.
So I like it's the so you got the Anti-Federalist paperwork. What's the other one? Which name has escaped me
Thomas
too?
Jefferson. That's who I'm trying to think of.
Okay,
He was
Thomas Jefferson.
anti-federalist. Yeah.
They had anonymous names, and they wrote.
Oh, you talking about? It was today. It was on. If you go to Rumble, to Sons of Liberty Radio Live, and look up the show that comes on at 6 in the morning, which is Tim Brown's show. He was talking about those two guys. One was called the Sentinel, and another one, and I can't think what the other one's name was. They didn't give their real names. he knows the real name. He gives the real names, but he gives what they said today. This morning on his show this morning, he was talking about this very thing,
Right.
about how the Constitution was come about and how they had sequestered themselves into a room, and no press, no public, nobody, just them in that little room making a deal that they were only supposed to. Originally, the Anti-Federalist idea was that they were going in to just amend the Confederation, the Confederation uh, papers,
Right.
and instead they come out with all new government. And it put most people, it put the public, it took it out of we the people and put it into the federal government's hands and took it out of the we the people hands. Even though it says we the people, they took it away from we the people.
I guess where I was trying to go with it is between the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, they were just they were writing this stuff in disguised names, so that
Yeah,
and it was getting out to the public, kind of like what we're doing right here,
yeah,
and so that they could understand how some of these things were supposed to be, because interpretation is a big deal. Obviously, we
yeah,
understand it between the three branches of government, so. Okay, so then he goes on to say that the same warning carried forward to the ratification debates over the Constitution. A Democratic Federalist, possibly Samuel Bryan, pointed to the long record of history, and from every angle, the conclusion was the same. A standing army was the single greatest danger, which we and we both agree on that. It says the experience of past ages and the results of the inquiries of the best and most celebrated patriots have taught us to dread a standing army above all earthly evils. Because back then, when they were living in with colonial times, I guess at any point they could just have their house walked right into. It could be, what did they call that? Used to, was it quarters?
yeah.
Yeah,
Quarter. Yeah,
soldiers and
the quarter soldiers in their house.
yeah, exactly. And so back in this time frame, when the militia was created, uh, uh, the reason it was created was because they were worried about those things right there. Not worried, because they were living through those damn things that was going on right there. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It says the militia and the Constitution. James Madison tied the whole question of liberty to the militia itself. What others had warned about in theory, he pressed as a principle to be written into the Constitution itself. And it quote says, excuse me, as the greatest danger to liberty is from large standing armies, it is best to prevent them by an effectual provision for a good militia, unquote. Ted Coxey tied the principles together into one clear doctrine. The militia was the people themselves, and he affirmed Madison's view that they made a standing army unnecessary. And then he goes on to quote it again that says, the militia, who are in fact the effective part of the people at large, will render many troops quite unnecessary, unquote. So we used to have an armory in our, I guess, in our town of Blount County, where
well, we still got one. We
I
just
know,
ain't
but
allowed to go to it.
that's right, and that's what I was going to was the fact that there used to be, I don't know if that's the actual building that it used to be, but back in 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 the time of the founders, we would have been able to walk into an armory. There would have been a weapon there for us, some sort of provisions, I'm sure, or whatever,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. We probably would have been a little bit like the National Guard, maybe 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year, something like that, to make sure that the
well,
age
yeah.
group, was good at marksmanship, was able to qualify for a physical fitness test,
And
whatever.
it was sanctioned by the state.
Right.
We had in the state house there was a head militiaman who was over the militia of every county, and then it's just typical, same thing as the military is today. The military idea is based on the militia. It's what it's based on, and so you had your head general, and then you had your sub generals, and then you had your colonels, and then you had your lieutenants, and then it branched out and stepped down, and each county had their own militia. But the funny thing is about James Madison about that, he wanted to take the militia and go into Canada, and because there was some skirmishes and stuff going on during the War of 1812. And the militia looked at him and said, "Go pound sand. We weren't called to do that. We're here for this country, on this soil only. We're not going to go onto another soil and do anything."
So when I talk to people that are like the National Guard, have friends and maybe even family, when we talk to about when I talk to them about militia, they try to convince me that they are the militia, and I said every time there's been some incident or war, you guys have been overseas. Every one of them were federalized by the state governor to be given to, and I don't know the exact process, but basically they became U.S. military, and those guys were over there predominantly in Afghanistan, Iraq, and all that stuff like that. So I was like, a militia is made for our community, our county, and Congress is what changed that rule, the wording of it, which is when you join the National Guard, they want you to understand that you are the militia for the state, and there's not a lot of truth in that
No,
anymore.
no. When you join the National Guard, you're a member of the United States military.
Right.
You are under the same rules, same regulations, and same control as the United States military. It's just that they call you weekend warriors.
Actually,
That's what they call you.
I think it's a double whammy because you not only are you under the United States military, but you're under the governor of the state, whoever that may be, too.
Well, actually, even the military bases that are in states, they're under the governor too. They
Really?
are underneath the governor because they're standing military inside the state itself.
Unless it's a federal.
Even if it's federal, they're still underneath the governor of the state because they're in the state. The federal government cannot own. The only thing federal government under the Constitution can have is a judge house. That's it, a courthouse.
I agree with that, but I think today that they would tell us we were wrong by saying that. You know what I mean?
Well, of course they would, because
Yeah.
they've changed everything else. Why not?
Right? Yeah. Why
They
not?
want everybody uneducated, so they try to.
I agree with that. So I call them re-education programs. You know what I mean? Instead of
Exactly.
indoctrination. So hang on, we got James and Ed Reno's in there. Hi, Ed. Hey, James Richard. Let's see. James talking a little bit about the Battle of Athens, and then in today's time, the more technology they have, the easier it becomes. We did stuff on like Anduril and Palantir, where they're using drone technology and stuff like that. So Ed says the greatest danger to a free state is a standing army, because me and Ed, I've known Ed since high school. I think he knows Robert and all of them out there as well. And so we've had these discussions many, many times, just, exactly about what you're talking about. Then James goes on and says, life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. And then let Blount County effing you have, I don't know what, happy in the life they will come steal from you. And so I have to tell James sometimes when he's talking that we're doing a show on Thursday, which is not Blount County, because on Tuesday I had to tell Scrappy Dog he had to come on Thursday because he was passionate. Look, there's Daryl G Monday. Hey guy, man, I appreciate that. Nice to see you in the chat. That's pretty cool. So anyway, the last thing I'm going to say about the militia thing, and we'll move on to something different, is it calls the 1-2 punch. And it's basically sums up the article by saying that the militia was and always will be the people themselves. But just as the Anti-Federalists warned, once Congress was given the power to organize, arm, and discipline only part of the militia, the results were inevitable. So today we live with the 1-2 punch they predicted. A select militia, which is the National Guard, is treated nothing more than the army of the permanent standing army. And two, tens of millions of Americans are not armed today, even though we are the most armed people probably in the world as far as our country.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's the very reason that that the emperor of Japan, when the generals were telling him, let's attack the shores of the United States, he said, you don't understand. You go on them shores, there's going to be a rifle behind every blade of grass. You don't have a chance. We cannot attack that shoreline. We can get Hawaii, we can get the outskirts, but we cannot do anything. And in fact, they did try to attack California, and there were so many, so much arsenal of our uh, uh, bombs and stuff kicking off that they had to turn around and go back. They couldn't even get anything in. They got a few balloons in, and that was it.
Balloons, isn't
So
that funny?
they figured out real quick. Yeah, you can't get into the states. I mean, you don't get in this country. Um, Unfortunately, we know what California looks like. So they walk in, get their. It'd be like going into France, Hitler going into France. Rolling right in there with people standing on the side waving uh, Chinese flags. Hey, come on in.
So you are familiar with the 10th Amendment Center then, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I like
And
them.
I'll give a shout out to Mr. Monday. He just sent me a friend's request. So, brother, this is who you send a friend's request to, because my picture ain't on my Facebook page.
Right. We finally got William to give us what he looks like. He kind of is like we're gonna call him. I guess if he comes on the podcast often, we're gonna call him the Gandalf of Blount County. So.
Don't make me release my ponytail.
Oh God, we got Crystal Dawn in the chat too. Look at there, so that's funny. But the 10th Amendment Center, I really like them. I know they're pretty much they don't like any president, period whatsoever, or Congress or anything like that. They do a fantastic job. They got a podcast. He's anywhere from 17 to 28 minutes long. It's pre-recorded. He puts it all in a neat little package. Probably does it way better than I do. I'm talking about
Well,
Michael
well,
Bolden.
that was one thing. That was the podcast. Tim put that out.
Oh, he
I
did
think
too.
Friday's podcast that they did Friday, and they were talking about the Constitution,
Right.
about the ratification of the Constitution, how
Yeah.
they changed the rules in mid-stroke. It was supposed to have been when they did the Confederacy Articles of Confederacy. It was 100%. All states had to agree. When they started the Constitution, it was 3/4.
So
Out of 13 states, only 9 had to agree
right.
to anything. So I mean, and they broke it down real quick, real easy, and it kind of puts you in the mind of, huh? A lot of that stuff that these people are saying is kind of familiar of what we're hearing today.
Right. Yep.
People saying, and the 10th Amendment is the one thing that Congress, the Senate, and the House, and the executive, and even the lowly little Supreme Court, which has no power.
So I tell
Period.
people that they don't
They
see when
they don't want to hear that. They want to think that they can write law. No, they cannot. All they can do is adjudicate. All they can do is
give an opinion.
define what the law is and what law is being broken, and that's it. And give an opinion, but they have no strength.
I don't even know if they can define it. They do their best to what they say, interpret it, but on a federal level, they do have power there for sure. On a civil level, they obviously it's just an opinion for the most part. And when you tell people that the three branches of the government, the judicial branch is the weakest, and that is why legislative holds the power of the purse. They make the laws, this, that, and the other. And the executive branch is the executive branch, which is elected by we, the people. Not saying that the Congress is not, you know what I mean? But it's just the checks and balances are supposed to be what they are. But now we have this fourth branch of government that they try to tell us that doesn't exist, but it absolutely does. And it's the one, what I call the alternate reality. Like the Constitution's running right here, going, here I am, and we're all living in this other reality that's right next to it because they've altered it, they've changed it, they've amended it, they've added stuff to it, they've done it, either legally or illegally. I would say anything that goes against the Constitution. And again, I'm
Well,
not
that is
anybody
that is a
legal.
product that is a product of the bankruptcy of 1933, because we are no longer, according to that bankruptcy, we are no longer a representative republic. We are under bankruptcy laws. We are under bankruptcy rules. And by that being, our representatives are no longer, my opinion, don't, go search for, go look for yourself. You'll
That's good,
find it.
man.
It's
You're
out
good.
there.
Yeah.
It's out there. Just go find it
Right.
yourself. But they are board members of the bankruptcy for every state, because after the Civil War, the 10th Amendment was basically put to rest. The states no longer are sovereign, because used to, but prior to the Civil War, you were not a member of the United, and the 14th Amendment, you were not a citizen of the United States. You were a Tennessean. You were an Alabamian. You were Minnesotan. You were a Virginian. You were Idahoan. Your country was your state that you lived in. That was the purpose of. That's why it was called the lowercase United, lowercase states, lowercase of, uppercase America.
Right.
It was the United States, separate countries, equal division. DC's whole purpose under the Confederacy was only to do one thing, and that was deal with commerce. They've got 18 enumerated rules that they follow. Their main thing is commerce between the states. They
Right.
kept commerce equal, tariffs and all that between the states. Abraham Lincoln come in, broke it all, destroyed it all, and reset it all.
That's there.
So, yeah.
I agree with what you're saying in as a whole, how the process worked, like the inner workings. We may disagree a little bit, but ultimately, in the end, I believe that that's why I call it an alternate reality. We think that we live in a country that is free and all these things, and to some degree, that is true compared to when you are comparing it to other countries outside the borders of this country, but it was meant for greater. It was meant for more. You know what I mean? It was not meant for us to be a restricted freedom. And so when we talk about the things that you are talking about, all these changes that they did and all that, I say they're unconstitutional. So they're supposed to be null and void, but they're not null and void because that's the reality that we live in now, if that makes sense, right? And these are these conspiracy theories, these wackadoodle things that people that think these guys are nuts. You know what I mean? But truthfully, all these, it's all mixed within. You know what I mean? All the truth and a bunch of mystery and a crap ton of misinformation, all gobbled together in this one ball, and then we sit back and argue amongst who knows more about what, and that's by design. You know what I mean?
Well, like I say, it's as simple as just doing a simple. I mean, we have got all this information on hand. The places like the 10th Amendment Center,
Right.
Chuck Baldwin. I have the Federalist, the Anti-Federalist. I have the free. He puts out a book called the Freedom Papers. I have all of it. I got letters from George Washington. I've got the letters from John Adams to his wife. The letters from Thomas Jefferson and John Adams, Sam Adams, all of it in this little booklet. It's about that thick, and it's a binded paper. You go to chuckbaldwin.com, and hopefully he's got some. It keeps selling out.
Yeah.
I mean, it sells out constantly, but once a year he'll replenish it, and you go in and it's like $20. Might be more now. It's $20 when I got it.
Yeah.
And it's a great little read. I mean, it gives a lot of history that you don't get taught in school.
Right. And see, I agree with that too. I think that we get taught just enough to confuse us. I try to get on and say, well, we did this and we did that. And when you're talking to other people that doesn't do any deeper research other than what they learned in a public education, then they want to not argue. They're just debating on the fact that, well, this is what they learned. And then if you tell them what you said, go look for the research yourself. It's almost like it's an offensive statement that you made because you're questioning their
Their their
education or
their their intellectual
there you go.
fortitude of what they
Intellectual.
have because they
Right.
know what they were. Their teacher told them this, but I was raised in a time, probably one of the last years classes that at Heritage High School, that we had teachers that pushed us to do just that. They pushed us. My civics teacher was like the greatest. I mean, that man, I hated seeing him retire because I knew that there's nobody gonna come in and fill his shoes because he would push us to go look it up. You don't believe me?
Right.
Go look it up. Go
Yeah.
look.
See,
This is where you can find it at. We also had um, great old man, Mr. Rutherford, uh, John Rutherford's dad would was a World War II vet, and he would substitute, and he'd come in. All you had to say, Mr. Rutherford, what's the deal with World War II? Dude, he would go through story upon story upon story and stuff that you didn't read in the was not in the workbook,
right.
wasn't in the
Yeah.
history books. This firsthand experience of what he dealt with.
Yeah.
I mean, we had such an education back then. And when my kids went up to Heritage, I sit with what they didn't do civics anymore. They called it American history.
So I had an actual civics class with a teacher that was passionate and adamant. Like he told us, I guess I was 15 at the time, maybe 14, probably
Yep.
14
No,
when I
you've been
had it.
15. You've been sophomore year. Sophomore year
Uh,
have been civics.
they we well I went so I was at a different school in a different state, so
Okay.
I didn't move here until I was 14 when my dad died, and so this was up in another state. But he was passionate. Like he told us if we got pulled over, these were your rights. You had driver's license, insurance, but if you were asked certain questions, he let us know right away that anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. So he emphasized to us that we needed to be as careful of what we said to the officer that pulled us over as any other official or authority that had the right to arrest, that had arresting powers. And I thought that was amazing because at the time in my life, I didn't understand it till later in life when things happened. You get pulled over, that kind of thing, and you come across an officer or whatever. Maybe it's not having the greatest day or whatever, but you seem to be the recipient of the other end of that. And so instead of arguing or going on, I just listened to whatever orders were given, and I gave him minimal or no answers whatsoever, and we went about our business, and it was done and over with, and so on. So civics was a big thing that I didn't like when I had to go through it, but I so appreciate now.
Oh no, he made civics class fun. I mean, we
Right.
we we did stuff. I mean, and his explanation was, you get pulled over, name, rank, and serial number. That's all you got to give. That's all the U.S. military has to give. That's all you got to give.
We
You don't have to
did.
give him anything else. Any more information other than that? Name, rank, and serial number, which mean your name, and your driver's license and your insurance. That's all. Nothing
We
else. You don't have to explain nothing. You don't have to answer no questions. And you give a minimal amount
of
of
information.
information as possible.
Yeah. We did mock debates. Like today, in today's times, it seems like even in local politics, they don't want to do debates. They want to do like meet and greets or donuts and calls or whatever it is. And then when you try to talk to people about getting together to do a debate, because the we have we've made debates look like they're attack sessions on people that are standing up there. I tried to explain a debate is, they know what the questions are going to be, and there's a moderator, and yes, there is an audience, but the audience doesn't engage in the debate because they're the ones that submitted the questions. So the audience is expecting their questions to be asked in whatever format, you know, if you wasn't as educated as somebody else, maybe they made your question sound smarter than what you were trying to say. But my point is, in civics class, we learned those things. We learned how to debate. We learned how to, um, um, we learned how to submit a bill, sponsors, co-sponsors, those kinds of things. It's been a long time, so it's out of touch as far as me per se is as being as informational about it as all. But as I can remember in my mind, we went through those types of things, and it was so beneficial because they don't do these things, not in schools or anything like that anymore today. Because if you did, I bet you would have a different. Not saying kids are not smart, because technologically, my kids whoop my ass. So but as far as experience, I have them there. You know what I mean? But I
Yeah.
think some of these things still need to be taught, as a curriculum to graduate. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the first place I learned for the grand jury. What was the purpose of a grand jury,
Right.
which most states don't even have in their constitution. Is Tennessee does. Tennessee's got a statute for a grand jury in their constitution, and the grand jury's purpose is they're the ones, not a public defender or the attorney general. Attorney general's job is not to initiate whether charges are going to be brought forth. It's the grand jury's duty to do that. That's their purpose, is to bring forth the judge the the articles of of arrest, if need be. They're the ones who listen to it. There's no judge involved. There's no attorney involved unless they have a reason to ask. They need to know a specific law that's supposed to have been broken. They need to have, they can request an attorney to come in, counsel, not an attorney, but a counsel, which that's what they're normally called, counsel. That's what they're used to be called, counsels. We can go on that with the Bar Association where that changed. Because any attorney out there that's a member of the Bar Association, which if you're an attorney, you've got to be a member of the Bar Association, you give your allegiance to Britain. You're a British citizen. You're not an American citizen.
I don't know.
I digress.
Yeah, I don't know.
But anyway,
I've never,
that's where
go ahead.
it come from. I mean, and so I mean, they got that saying that if a man who argues is his own attorney as a customer is a fool. That's where they come from.
Yeah.
Actually, no, you're supposed to be able to defend yourself in court, and the attorney's job is only to counsel you, to give you the information that you need to get up there and stand up and speak for yourself. Now they don't want you speaking for yourself because you are not, according to their court that you're standing in front of, you are not a living being. You are technically a ship lost at sea, and you are a missing in action individual.
That's because of maritime stuff. But see,
Exactly. That's
again,
maritime law that we live in.
See, you and I, we'll do another thing about maritime law, because I got a thing about that too. I don't necessarily understand it, and again, I agree with a lot of the things, all the intricacies in the middle that you talk about and I talk about. Maybe they don't always match up, but in the end, I think we're trying to sort of say, the same thing. You know what I mean? So, but when you have new people watching, when you talk, when we
I
talk,
know it blows their mind.
It blows their
Again,
mind.
it's like
Yeah.
if you don't understand it,
You're
go
right.
look it up.
So
I mean, just Google. I mean, everybody's got a search engine. Go to your search engine, push in maritime law. Bam! It'll tell you. It'll give you every article of maritime law and what you're looking at. Go look up your birth certificate. Go look up your social security number. I mean, you can go and find your social security number on the Dow Jones, the stock market. Go look how much money you're worth. You can find it. It's there.
You're born in debt.
No. You're born as collateral
No,
for
that's
the
what I mean.
for the
Right.
for the debt
But
of the United
exactly.
States.
Right. But
And so you go to the stock market, Dow Jones, and there's a guy that comes to the council, and he requests it from every once a month he comes in and requests his Dow number. He wants to know what his value is in his county and how much money that they plan on giving him back because he's made them this much money by being a citizen of Blount County.
so
I mean,
again,
it's funny. I love watching him do it. Of course, ain't nothing gonna come out because they're all looking at him like, this man lost his mind. He's half crazy. But he's legally, he can do that because it's true. You could be worth millions of dollars depending on your GDP. Your GDP
right.
is
Yeah.
is
Your
how the
gross domestic product. Exactly.
your GDP is what puts money in that bank up there in the Federal Reserve and allows the federal government to walk in there with a piece of paper and say, we need this much money.
So yeah, we'll save that. We'll do that another day where we talk about the maritime law, where the birth certificates and all that. Because see, people don't understand if you're born at sea, you don't belong to a country, right?
No, you have a birth.
Right,
You
you
know
have
what
a
a birth
birth,
is?
right? Well, let me say it like this: if the ship is not flagged to a country, maybe you don't. But guess who? Guess who signs your birth certificate? And I'll stop at that. The captain of the ship. You know what I
Captain
mean?
of the
So
ship.
the captain of the ship. So I
You're
mean,
giving a birth on a ship.
right, right, right.
You have a
So
bed. You have a bed on a ship.
yeah,
And unfortunately, that ship is lost at sea.
yeah, exactly. Hey, Jason's in there. Jason, you want to come on? You want me to send you a link real quick because he's in there. He said that he didn't get a chance to debate because he said he was too stupid. Just ask Facebook. But if you're asking Facebook, that's probably not the right thing to be doing
No,
anyway.
that's the place. No.
Yeah, that's the place to go anyway. So
If I start talking about this on Facebook, I get a month off.
well, now that you bring that up, a couple years ago, especially 21, 22, 23, every time I posted or commented on something, I went in jail, got in trouble or whatever. But in the last 2
If I
years,
just shared a post,
right, got in trouble. But the last 2 years, so I guess what? Since the beginning of this year, I think I've been allowed to go live on Facebook and not have my videos cut short. YouTube did the same thing. Like if you go look at my YouTube account back when I first began, you might see one or two videos and they're like 3 minutes long. Well, I did like 2.5 hour stuff back then because it was new and I was just running my mouth and blah blah blah.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Just rah. And
I
so,
got a good, I got a good one for you.
well, they cut it off.
I'm
Go
a,
ahead.
I build 80%. Okay, I build a whole lot of 80%. I've got a jig. I bought the new jig from 80%.com. And they said, if you give us a review on YouTube, we will send you a free 80% lower that you can build. Cool. Yeah. Hell, all right. Cool. That's a new gun. So they, or a new pew pew. Sorry.
No,
Delete
no,
that pew
no, no,
pew.
no, no. You can say that. It's freedom.
But anyway,
No, no, hold on.
anyway, this was 6 years ago, 7 years ago now. Last November, I got a notification from YouTube that my video was removed from YouTube because I'm like I had one whole view, and that was from the people at 80%.com that viewed it.
That is so funny,
Oh,
man.
so you know what? That's the idiocracy of this stuff with Facebook and how they do stupid stuff like that. But they do. I mean, it's sad that you have to watch what you say and how you say it,
Yes. Yep. Yep.
and
That's why we do the disclaimer. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Just to make sure,
and even using disclaimers still,
yeah.
if you say the wrong word.
I know. I know.
I I watch a program called The Professor of Rock. I'm a big rock nut. I mean, rock music. I like all kinds of music. Love all kinds. I mean, I was I was a headbanger in the '80s who went to bed at night listening to the '50s and the '60s oldies, you know, and actual blues. I love Memphis blues and Texas blues. I mean, I just absolutely love it. And but he has to watch what he says. He has to spell some words out because if he don't, they'll kick him off. They'll remove the video straight from the show because he said the wrong thing. Or if he plays a video, they blank the video out of just a snippet of a rock video. They'll cut the whole. The audio is completely out. You can't hear a word they say because of copyright
Right.
regulations.
I've been
I
in
mean,
for
this
that.
this is
Yeah.
'80s music, people. They
Right.
ain't nobody making these albums. These guys ain't even recording no more. Most of them are sitting in wheelchairs or stoned out off their head in a corner somewhere. I mean, come on now.
Exactly. So, the music I play, the people on the porch.
Yeah.
So I've been given permission verbally by the band, as a whole, by both the lead singers, but anyway, but as a whole, right? And we've had his name's Danny Elson. He's the only one that participates with us most of the time. We can get Jeremy from time to time, and I did go and record one of their shows and live and learned real quick that a cell phone, an iPhone, is not sufficient enough equipment to record video like that, from a for live, audience, that kind of thing. So it was a learning thing, but they gave me permission, so we play or I play their songs. When I first opened the podcast, used to play there are 5 songs at the beginning because remember how I was telling you it generates a notification, or it's
Yeah.
supposed to generate a notification to let people know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I know some people don't like the introduction, and I'll say it again. So I know you don't like the introduction. So I got the new Resolute introduction. I got the same old introduction that I had for, Caught Up. And then we added the disclaimer. It's about 7.5 minutes long. But according to Rumble, it's supposed to do that. So it generates a notification so that if you're sitting at home and oh gosh, there's Resolute Exposure. He's coming on. You hit it and you pop in, and you're supposed to pop in. And in the middle of that introduction, well, I ran 20 minutes worth of my people on the porch's music in the very beginning. Well, now I played at the end most of the time, but we promote the crap out of him. You know what I mean, or them as a whole, because it's real good. But when YouTube tried to say that I was in a copyright, whatever they call that,
Infringement.
and when I appealed it, I had to explain in detail who they were and how I was affiliated with them, and that they were wrong in what they were doing, and that was the end of that. They don't cut me off when that, but like if I play Metallica or something like that, if you go longer than 30 seconds, that's it. They will stop your video, remove that part, and then splice it back together so eloquently too.
Oh
So
no, they with the Professor Rock, they want it. They just mute it and let it play. Or if it gets too much into it, then they'll just remove it completely from it. But getting back to the people on the porch,
yeah,
that was my when I was growing up. That was my weekend entertainment is aunts and uncles and cousins that could play and sing come out, and we'd all gather together at Mama's and have a hold down on the
so
weekend. So,
that
so I know people on the porch. People on the porch is a Southern thing. I
that's
mean,
that.
that's a hillbilly. That's a hillbilly thing. That
It's why they got the name. It's
the
what they
way
named.
families got together.
Yep. So
Yeah,
Danny
so
Elson
that's how
and
families got together. And even now, with family reunions, the ones that are still living, when we have family reunion, they all bring an instrument,
yeah.
and we all sit there and have a good little hold down going on.
So
Uh,
Danny's from Blount County. Jeremy, the lead singer, vocal, or however they call him, because they all share a little bit of everything, is also from Blount County, and both Heritage High School graduates, but now live in or around the Nashville area, and so we're able to. They talked about doing these things in school, hey, one day we ought to get together and have a band, and well, now they're doing that. And so they have done like Dollywood, the barbecue festival for seems like a few years in a row. We saw them a bunch there. Kimbro's. They used to do like one Wednesday every month for the longest time, and then when COVID hit, it slowed down. But on the 23rd, last Saturday, they were back there jamming at Kimbro's, doing it live again. I want to believe that they did a stint at the Ryman Theater. They opened for somebody, but they're an excellent band and they do a fantastic job. And I appreciate so much that they allow me to use their music and be involved. Like I've been invited to events where um, I'm basically it appears as I'm part of the band and I'm back there with all them guys doing the things. I'm not out in the front with the fans watching like the rest of them are. So it's been a cool experience to be involved in that, and the fact that they let us use the music is great. So I appreciate that too. Let's see. Jason Payne said Robert Johnson. Do you know who that is? I don't know. I thought maybe it was maybe something we were talking about, which is what generated him to say the name. But
That might be the guy that comes to the county commission every now and then that requests his balance and his on his dial number that he has.
I don't know. He didn't elaborate other than that. So
Yeah. I've got the guy's card. I'll have to just look it up, but that sounds familiar. That may be. He's the oh um what's it called?
I don't know.
There's a you can go and become one of these members. They don't have driver's licenses. They don't have
blues.
Huh?
He said it had to do with the blues.
Oh, with the blues?
Yeah, Robert Johnson. So he was talking about the music part now. So
Oh, Robert Johnson?
yeah, he's a singer. Yeah, now he's chiming in now. And then James Richard says Metallica. What, Mr. Bryan? I took you like only Lopper or Vanilla Ice fan. Justice for all rock. No, I was never a Vanilla Ice guy. No.
Hey,
Metallica.
hey,
What?
don't knock Ice Baby.
All right. So we got like 15 minutes.
Even though he stole the bass line.
I want to play some of this right here real quick. And see what you think and get your opinion for a minute. And because it's 10-9. And if we go over just a little bit, that's fine. But for the most part, but check this out. See what you think.
Else deliver on, but okay, shooting. What do you want to say about it?
Okay, so I'm always interested with the fact that the Secret Service is so heavily involved in setting the story for these events, and there would not be a story if not for the Secret Service. And so I dig on the Secret Service occasionally, and I think it's very interesting, first of all, that they were brought under DHS in 2003 because of the DHS conversations that we've had over the past year about the, anti-constitutionality of the existence of DHS in the first place, of whether or not it will be funded and it will continue on into the future. Some of the functions of the DHS, the fact that part of Trump's project has to be dismantling some of the apparatus that was built up after 9/11 in the George W. Bush period with the Patriot Act and the rest of it. The DHS, as far as I'm concerned, is the embedding of the global security state inside the American government in a way that operates with a degree of independence that the founders would have never approved of. Like none of this should exist. And so I started looking more deeply at the history of the Secret Service, and the Secret Service came into being in 1865. Abraham Lincoln was essentially instituting a new federal money system. The states had their own currencies. They were decentralized to the states. And the federal government, and this is just another aspect of the Civil War and Reconstruction, was that they were taking over and nationalizing everything. And one of those things, of course, would be the currency, so that the federal government can have control over that. And the 14th Amendment gave them the ability to have insight into all personal transactions, all business transactions, so they could ensure that there's no slavery anywhere. And so there's and the National Bank Act was part of the nationalization of banking during that Civil War period, and then in through the Reconstruction. And the Secret Service's job was to investigate and prevent counterfeiting. At one point, they thought like a third of all the money in circulation was fake money, fake federal notes, and they had to resolve the counterfeit problem because they had to make sure that the federal government's paper money policy and the process, this new process that they had kind of thrust upon all the states in the Reconstruction, that would go successfully. So that's what the Secret Service was stood up for. It was basically like, we are rejoining the global banking regime by setting up this central bank and federalizing and nationalizing all of our fiscal policy and all the currency policy. And everybody has to use this currency. We're going to make sure that nobody is using fake currency. And I would imagine that that also counts as other currency. And so that's what the Secret Service was. And it kind of took on the.
Did you hear that?
Oh, yeah. Greenbacks.
Okay.
Greenbacks. I'll get you a little booklet.
So
I'll get you a little booklet about Abraham Lincoln. You'll be surprised. My ex-father-in-law wrote about Abraham Lincoln and his whole thing. And it's about that thick. It takes about 20 minutes, 30 minutes to read, and all the things that Abraham Lincoln that they aspire him for are all lies made up by whoever the victor gets the spoils. The victor writes the history, and they rewrote history in a big way, because he wasn't assassinated.
Yeah, so this is Chris Paul and John Harold, and it's the Badlands Media guys that I like. Chris Paul is probably my favorite of all of them, but he goes into a little bit of history why the Secret Service was. And before you and I started the show, just prior to you were telling me about when the Secret Service came about, why, because the states had different currencies. They wanted one currency. Secret Service came in, it was fraud. You got to go by this currency. If you don't, that's considered fraud. Blah, blah, blah. Well, he just sort of said the same thing. And I knew that you would say those things because I agree with him. I agree with you because you guys are basically saying the same thing. But I just wanted you to hear that part. So here goes a little more.
Oh, yeah.
He goes into a little bit more detail, not just about the history. I think the history part of it's done. He's trying to tie all these things in together with this White House shooting and basically how inadequate these agencies are, because they were all, with exception to the Secret Service, but a lot of these agencies were formed and put together because of the Department of Homeland Security, which is why he said the founders would not allow that to exist the way that they do. So check this part out real quick.
The presidential security role much later on.
I did not know that. I feel like I may have heard that before, but I completely forgot about that. They were created to go after counterfeiters and like protect the financial system.
Yeah, 1865.
When did they switch over to security purposes for the president, and what caused the switch, and who was securing the president before that?
That is a good question. I did not look up the last question that you just asked. Who was securing the president before that? But they began, I think, doing presidential security, if I recall. Hold on, let me go back and check because I don't want to. I know I have it here, so there's no point in guessing or speculating. Wait, let me see. I thought this came up, but there was an assassination attempt. An assassination. Oh, damn it! Hold on.
Before the creation of
the wrong thing.
The Secret Service, presidential protection was informal, inconsistent, and handled by a mix of local police, military aides, private bodyguards, political allies, and occasionally federal troops.
Yeah. Okay. And then
that was prior to Secret Service.
The founders generally disliked the image of a heavily guarded executive because it resembled monarchy.
I don't know where I lost this thread to, but yeah, that so that whole thing. that backstory of the Secret Service, and then they became the security for the president, and then they shifted from Treasury into the Department of Homeland Security. And, you know, if we were to just trust the names of all these departments and agencies, well, the Secret Service that protects the president, that sounds like it's right in Department of Homeland Security rather than under Treasury. If Treasury is doing all the currency stuff now and the rest of it, but I don't trust anything that was put under DHS in that post 9/11 period.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I like what Chris Paul says. I like how I don't know.
Well,
He doesn't
the
do a
question to
podcast
ask
anymore.
is,
He comes on those.
Okay. Yeah, they started out as being a, a way to keep people from counterfeiting. You know, Lincoln was wanting to kick the central bank out and come up and because of the debt that the North had acquired during the Civil War, he was trying to get out from having to pay the debt back. So he said, okay, we'll just make money that has no backing. It's just backed by the federal government, the treasury of the federal government. And we don't want nobody counterfeiting because they also consider Confederate money as being counterfeit money, even though it was gold backed by the Confederacy.
Right.
And so that's what they were there really to do, was to get all the Confederate money out of circulation. So the Confederacy didn't have a chance to use that money to move to Brazil or somewhere else and reestablish a Confederate state out of the United States. And then it just kind of snowballed from there to and name one president, name one a candidate that has ever had the Secret Service actually protect them from being killed. True assassination, not faux WWE assassination. And we'll not mention the WWE actor who was in all three of those, including that one, assassination attempt. Kennedy, the Secret Service were 20 feet behind the car.
Or further, yeah.
Yeah, and Bobby Kennedy's Secret Service was standing there watching it happen. They were looking at it while he was getting shot. Didn't do nothing. Didn't do a thing.
Yeah, there's so much about that, ain't there? Yeah.
Yeah. And then Ronald Reagan assassination attempt by a family member or a friend of George Bush Sr., Evil Poppy, family member's son, wanted to make it look good, tried to assassinate Reagan for the Secret Service. Reagan shot under the arm by a projectile, not a bullet. Not a bullet.
It's so, because I've heard so many different things, you know what I mean? So I don't disagree with any of it. When someone says they think it happened this way, well, that's very possible, you know. We think it happened that way. Well, again, that's very possible, you know. So all that good stuff like that. So, well, Scrappy, you did fantastic, man. You know what I mean? This I think so. If you come on Tuesdays, you have to learn to.
Okay, we'll just stick to Blount County politics. We'll leave the rest of it alone, even though it does matter because Blount County militia is a Blount County deal.
It does.
And we do need to discuss the idea that you know, and I talked to it with Jerry Burns, and he thought it was a pretty good idea is that we get a group of 15, 20 men who are different age groups and get together and petition this Brown, since he's sheriff now, Brown, into setting up a small militia of 20, 30 men who have the ability to go to the Blount County firing range, go through the training like the police department does, be deputized like the police department, but are on call when needed only. We don't go on ride-offs. We don't sign up as being auxiliary cops. We are local community members in our community, and that if we are needed for any reason that we're called for, but we get trained the same as they do, so that if we do are needed, we can do the same things that they do.
So,
and we don't need to have their weapons. We can use our own weapons because most of us are armed better than they are.
So I'll say no. So I'll say this. I don't need Brong or any of his training by any of his deputies. There's enough people in here that in our community that are trained properly and would do a fantastic job in doing that. I don't think they would call us, William, if needed. You know what I'm saying? I just don't think that it would happen. I think we are a threat to them. Just to be honest.
The thing is, we just set up and say, okay, this you need to know this, whether you like it or not. This is going to happen.
Yes.
So if you want to be a part of let you know that we're going to be there if it comes about, and it would be to your advantage,
right,
to join with us in this, and maybe get Sheriff Mack involved with it a little bit too.
I don't.
You know who Sheriff Mack is?
No.
With the CPSO, the Constitutional CSPOA.
No.
The Constitutional Posse.
Yeah. No.
Oh well, go check out Sheriff Mack and the CSPOA, and he has a questionnaire out for sheriffs that you can take to your local sheriff and give it to him and have him fill it out and send it back to him. And they rate your sheriff by his constitutional abilities and mental ideology of what a constitutional sheriff is, and he rates them. He rates them right down to it, and you can go on the website and you can rate your sheriff and see how far your sheriff is. So the next round of election comes in, or you can actually go to your county commission and give them that rating and say, do we need this man to be ahead of our sheriff's department, considering his low rating on constitutional values that we have here in this county? And the county commission can recall Sheriff Brown, whether he likes it or not.
So
he fired all of the constables in the county illegally and got them out. Constable was the only elected official that could legally arrest a sheriff because they were voted in, and he got them removed.
That's interesting. So, but yeah, let's see. James Richard says, Metallica. What, Mr. Bryan? I took you like I can't read it always. Anyway, I know that he likes my Metallica collection. James does, so I give a shout out to that. I like Metallica, but
unless till it gets to load, then they're sellouts, and I don't have none of their load crap. Because that's what it is. It's a load. It's a load of BS. That's what it is from that point on.
I saw him in '92 here at Thompson Bowling Arena. Then last year, me and my brother went to Nashville and watched him because we're 10 years apart. So I was 18 and he was 8, and he wasn't allowed to go. So 30 some years later, we got to go together, and he said it was a bucket list item you get to check off. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
I was at the '92 show. I was at the Black Album.
So
I listened. My brother had the original Garage Days cassette. So
I love old Metallica.
So I mean, we're going back in like '83 here with Metallica.
I think it was '87 when I first heard of them. I was like 13 years old.
Master of Puppets. So I'd be Master of Puppets then.
Well, I probably heard their earlier stuff until, because none of that stuff, it was all passed down and somebody was recording it from.
Well, Kill 'Em All was the first. Kill 'Em All was the first studio album,
right,
that they put out.
Yeah.
And but Garage Days was their one they passed out at the concerts, and it did not. They revisited. They did Garage Days revisited.
Yep.
But my brother had the original Garage Days, the handout only. You got them at concerts. The only way you got it, and he got it in Nashville in '87.
So I remember Alcoholica and Metallicats before Master of Puppets, and it was, like you said, it was somebody that got a copy of it at a concert somewhere.
At a concert, yeah.
And you know what I mean? It was the only way. So that was cool. But I love old Metallica.
Yep, that was throwback. That was James Mustaine.
James. Yep.
Lead singer.
Yep.
Yeah, Mustaine. That's why they call it Alcoholica.
Alcoholica. Yeah.
Yeah, Alcoholica.
Cool. Yeah. So very cool. So man, I appreciate it, Scrappy Dog. I enjoyed this. You can do this with me again. And so now what I do it on purpose because you remember when Robert first came on?
Yep.
So
the felon.
He came, the felon. Yeah, he came to the house and we did it right here live. You know what I'm saying? And he had enough stuff to talk about Blount County. Well, then the next week he did it from his house. He had his stuff set up, and I was here. And then so it was a Thursday night show caught up, but then he filmed the whole time, all the time with Blount County stuff again. And so then we did the third show together on a Thursday, and he did the same thing. And I was like, that's it. We're going to make another show because I like doing this national stuff that people would think is conspiracy theory, stuff like that. And a lot of it's more true. And so I told Robert, we're going to do another show on a different night, and which is what got Jason and Crystal, and then me and Robert, and then you were a part of Tuesday's show, which was phenomenal. Matt Snow, who else do we have? We had Alan Latham on there.
Short, fat, and does the job. The 45. We start calling him Kimber. That's his new name. His new name's Kimber.
And then we're going to start calling you Gandalf. So,
next time I let my hair down, you'll really see the Gandalf.
That's cool. But it worked out like it's supposed to. So, so if you come on Tuesday, you keep it to Blount County, come on here, we can do the stuff because love it. I love this stuff like this, and a lot of people enjoy it.
People don't realize that the national stuff affects us.
It does.
I mean, the world stuff affects us. What's going on in the world, it affects us. It affects us locally. I mean, it affects our farmers. It affects our production systems. It affects corporations. It affects home builders. It affects everybody. Everybody down the line is affected by what's going on in the nation as well as in the world.
Yep.
We're no longer isolated. We used to be a nice little isolated community that was just in here and just, we were buffered from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Well, ain't that way no more. We're no longer buffered from the rest of the world. We don't have Alcoa Aluminum Company towering over top of us and keeping everything down and in a bubble.
Yep.
That bubble got burst in 84, 85. And, Denso was about, actually, General Motors wanted to come in here, and Alcoa stopped it in 84. And then like 86, 87, Denso came in. Was able, because Alcoa just couldn't fight them no more. They had the money. They didn't have the money, the resources. They was laying everybody out because the aluminum industry went back, done. The bottom fell out of it because Japan and China was doing it cheaper and selling it on the world market, and our coal was left behind. So, and so when Denso come in, we were no longer in a bubble. That's when the nation and the world come to, and so we all got to keep an eye on what's going on, not just locally. The only thing we can affect is local.
Right.
That's it. We can't affect anything national. You forget that. They're LLCs. They're corporations of themselves. That's why they go in there making $147,000 a year and come out multimillionaires. Because they go in, they LLC themselves, they're corporation LLCs. You can't sue them. You can't take nothing from them if you do sue them because they're LLCs. You can get it from the LLC. Can't touch them. So, and in world, you're not going to do nothing with what's in the world, but we can protect our little corner, but we're going to have to stand together to protect our little corner. Because it's going to take all of us to do it. It ain't going to take. Back in the Revolutionary War, 3% could do it. It ain't. 3% can't do it here.
Yeah.
If we're going to protect our little corner of the country, our little area, we're going to have to stand up. We're going to have to get educated and get vocal. When you can get 240 people in to pack out the commission meeting on a Thursday night at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, whatever time it is, 6 o'clock, I guess, over turf in a football field. What does turf in a football field do for our county? What does it do? Absolutely nothing. But you got PPE, you got data centers, you've got these other things,
solar farms.
Solar farms. You've got them trying to destroy our dams in our river, trying to destroy our river structure. You've got TWRA taking all water rights from every ounce of water above and below ground in our county, in our state. A turf on the football field, that's the stupidest thing you could think about and stand up for. That's the most retarded thing you could stand up for, to go in there and scream and holler because they're not going to put turf on your football field because they're going to put it on this other school's football field. Who cares? Didn't need to spend that much money. Didn't need to put turf on the football field. How long you played football, didn't you?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I played football. I was on grass.
Okay, did you play on turf?
Never.
I played football. Never played on turf. I mean, that's ridiculous. But they want to sit there and fight that. But they want to sit home, twiddle their thumbs. Well, guess what? If you got a well, state of Tennessee is about to meter your well and charge you for the water that comes out of your well.
Haven't seen that.
Yeah, and it's a fact. I mean, and used to, somebody comes down, if you got property on both sides of the Little Tennessee River, somebody comes walking down in the middle of your middle of that river, you could get them arrested for trespassing. Not no more. That ain't your river no more.
Yeah, that
belongs to TWRA.
Yeah, they did that a while ago. I was probably 19 or 20 when that happened. I didn't understand it though. You know what I mean? So.
Well, that's also when they. It's also when they took water. Actually, the state of Tennessee owns all mineral rights under all properties in the state of Tennessee now.
I'm sure. Yep, I'm sure there's some.
That went into effect in 2024. I think it's when it went into effect. Nobody said nothing. Nobody did nothing. Everybody sit back. Not my property. Want to bet? What if they find you ain't gonna J clamp it? Let's say you go out in your field, shoot that deer, hit an oil well. Guess what? Ain't your oil. Ain't your property no more. State Tennessee.
Probably. I wouldn't. They would fight. Sure, you know what I mean. So, well, all right. So get us out of here and close the show, and I'm sure I'll next day or so. Glad you got your camera fixed. And
yeah, I'm glad too. So next time Joe comes on, I can really aggravate him. Don't you're not as pretty.
All right, man. I'm going to kick you out of here. Good night, brother.
All right. Good night, brother. Peace, people.
All right. Scrappy Dog did fantastic, man. I knew he would fit this show. He would fit it like a glove because he was super passionate on Tuesday's show. And so, yeah, I really appreciate him coming on. And I'm going to have him on more often because there's a lot of things we can talk about that's interesting. It's not always on topic about what's going on, and that's okay because, it doesn't always have to be everything what's going on with the news because we could have talked tonight about, Jill Biden coming out talking about how worried she was about her husband up there on the debate stage. She thought he was having a stroke, but then they take him to the Waffle House after it's over with. And so, it just, to me, just didn't seem interesting, but which was very interesting, at least to me, and maybe some others, was the militia talk. Scrappy Dog was really influential in all that. You know what I mean? And the and where the discussion led its way down into. So, yeah, man, good job, Scrappy Dog. Glad to see you're gonna be on again in the future. And then, with that being said, guys, y'all have a good evening. James, Richard, I appreciate you talking about Metallica and everything like that. Let's see. That's how I transferred here in 16, Alcoa, Texas to Arconic, Tennessee. China backing aluminum and flooding the market, and Alcoa curtailed the plant in Texas. Interesting. So you worked for Alcoa, did you? Huh. Were they doing the same things in Texas as they did in Tennessee? Alcoa? Let's see, that's how I transferred Texas to Arconic. Whatever happened to Corn Pop exactly? Yep, Corn Pop. Well, I call Joe Biden our boy Blue, like the other guys off of Badlands Media, So, but anyway, with that being said, guys, we're going to get out of here. Y'all have a good evening. I will see you guys. Tomorrow, 7:00. Robert and I are going to do a candid conversation with Matt Snow, who is throwing his hat into the political ring and going to run, I think, as a write-in candidate for highway superintendent for this election cycle. So Matt was also on the show Tuesday night when he announced that he was running for office on Resolute Exposure, which was pretty cool because I didn't know either one. I didn't know he was running for office. I didn't know he was going to say it, but I'm glad that he did. And I'm glad that we were part of it. And so we're going to give Matt the same that we give all the other candidates out there. We're going to give him 60 minutes or a little bit more and then let him talk about his background history and all that stuff like that. We finished Jeff Cog candid conversation, House District 20, and about an hour and 16 for military, U.S. Air Force, is a team Heritage High School for FCC, and just a man full of faith, that kind of thing. So if you haven't seen that kind of conversation, I would encourage you to look for it in Rumble. It's probably still floating on Facebook somewhere, and get it out there in the public. Matt will be on tomorrow night. I actually think to come here live and do it in my little slash studio, and we'll go that direction. The reason we're going to do it is I don't any the internet or all me. I just hope that it stays up because it's what push this to begin with. So tomorrow at 7:00, Matt Snow, writing candidate for highway superintendent, and so super excited to get an event page posted here shortly with that. And James says he made Lumina and your product bauxite is what that's bauxite. That's interesting. All right, guys. We're going to close the show out with a little bit of people on the porch, and you all have fantastic. Hey, hit the like button. If you're on YouTube, hit the like on Facebook, hit the the like button, thumbs up, whatever it is, or the thumbs down. Thanks for all the comments and in the chat, and share the shit out of it, guys. Talk to you later. Peace out.
My heart all day long. Need a morning when darkness comes. My heart. Ooh. It takes